What do you think of Theresa May's Brexit deal?
Rubbish!
I agree. Absolute rubbish. Yeah, I just wanted a word about our patriots that are trying to speak out about, the Nazism of the EU, about these rape gangs that are all over the country, about this rabid Islamisation all over the UK. I mean, as we see, London now is lost. It's completely lost. Thing is, no democratic system will ever win against block voting, and this is what that section of the community always does. The imams treat them like children, and they're told what to do. They're not told about the truth of the prophet. And they'll always win because they are united under this quite ancient, quite savage ideology. So, while the English in the future will be voting for Labour, for UKIP, for Conservatives, they will all vote, probably for Labour, for exactly who they're told to vote for. The thing I really want to go on about here is the treatment of patriots in this country. It's absolutely despicable. We saw about, as you probably already know, we saw about Tommy Robinson, how for telling the truth, for trying to get some film, a few pictures, and reading out the charge sheet on, there's actually 77 of those paedophiles of a certain ideology in Huddersfield. 77 of them. They don't make that clear because we did them in free trials, and normally we take off reporting restrictions for about 2 years. They have this time at the request of other journalists. But it's unusual. You don't normally hear about these till these guys are in doing their sentence. The way Tommy was treated, and equally the way Jayda, Fransen and Paul Golden was treated, and Piers Morgan, the way Piers Morgan treated Tommy, is an example of how class-ridden Britain is. I mean, racism, yeah, there is racism, undoubtedly. I think to be wary of someone with a different culture or a different race, I think is to some extent sensible and natural. But as far as the UK and I think America as well goes, classism is a much bigger evil. Classism, what's classism? Most of you guys won't even know what it is. Classism is when you look down your nose at someone and really despise someone because they don't earn as much as you, they live in a poorer area than you, they have different political views to you. This is classism. For instance, I'll give you an example. You might get some guy in Washington who's just finished high school, say, a young guy, and he'll do a video. And a guy in, for instance, Detroit, a black guy in Detroit, who probably makes more points and who could well be more intelligent and more well adapted and averse to society, he could actually be looked down his nose on and denigrated just because he's black and where he's from. Well, that would be not so much racism, it would be classism. And I think the way Tommy Robinson was treated by Piers Morgan on that sham of an interview, I mean, that Piers Morgan actually went to a council house school, would you believe? But he's had many years of being the editor of the Mirror and the youngest editor in the country at 26, and he's got a fortune stashed away. He's probably got a portfolio of properties. So he's forgotten all about the fact, he came from a relatively ordinary background in, where was it, Sussex or Kent or something. He's forgotten all that. He just detests Tommy Robinson, not because he's saying anything racist or bigoted or have you, or even because he did form the EDL, which in their day did a lot of good work. It was only the EDL and the BNP, call them all the names you want, call them Nazis, it was these people that first revealed about these mass rape gangs, and they're still going on today, and they're still being denied, especially in Rotherham and Telford and Manchester and London, where all these Labour lovies, these guys from basically working class backgrounds who are in the money. They're in the money now, so they've lost all loyalty with any of the poor people. And Labour, that is Labour today. Labour build a new power base up. They're obsessed with, they're filled with Islamists. As we see, they've already been accused of gross anti-Semitic behaviour, and it's only going to get worse because, you go to Telford, every one of the councillors, bar one, and all the council staff, all the secretaries, all the advisors, they're all non-whites belonging to one ideology. So I mean, how anti-democratic is that? As far as this classism goes, I mean, Tommy Robinson has been vilified, he's been tortured, he's been seriously maltreated in jail. I mean, he's sort of stated the poor man, as has Jayda Fransen. For what? For what? Have they planted any bombs? No. Have they gang attacked loads of girls or put people under fear of death? No. Have they hunted people down and sent them thousands of hateful tweets threatening to rape them, threatening to kill them, threatening to cut their mother and children up with knives and machetes, as Tommy Robinson has and as Jayda Fransen has? Have they done any of these types of things? No. All they've done is tried to tell the ruling classes of this country, which sadly seem very, very ignorant, especially they've got a big black spot regarding Islam, that's for sure. All they've tried to do is tell some of the truth of Islam's bloody, violent, disgusting history. I mean, the Christian calendar, as we know, starts at year 0, the birth of Jesus. We're now in 2018, obviously. But the whole of the Middle East, up until like 640, 650 AD, after Jesus, was Christian dominated with a Jewish element, various types of Christians, Yazidis, Assyrians, Armenians, all these different groups, but they were faithful, devout Christians. The only mistake they made was they weren't ready for the invasion of jihad. You know, they didn't have the defences, they weren't suspicious enough, they weren't prepared, they didn't have standing armies or powerful, you know, well-drilled militias. You know, so they were easy meat. As the Asians call our girls, they call our girls easy meat, because it's easy to dupe these white girls into bed at 12 and 14. How disgusting is that? Easy meat. That's how they regard, basically, non-believers. We're all dirty kuffar, animals. Disgusting. You don't believe, follow the divinity of Allah. They're all brought up from birth to think they are, quote, the rightful masters of the earth. Seriously, so it's an earlier master race, nothing to do with Germany this time, but this was back in like 600 odd AD, and this is where all the terrorism has come from. This is where all the mass beheadings, the invasion of the whole Middle East, basically, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Morocco, you know, blah blah blah, the whole of North Africa has systematically been invaded, pillaged, raped, all its wealth took, and then they've all been put under the iron fist, the iron boot of Islam. Because as we know, there's no freedom of speech in Islam whatsoever. So don't listen to these Piers Morgan and that Farage. You see, Farage, he could have stood up, he could have been a brave, you know, loyal Brit and stood up after Tommy was jailed and said, well, I don't agree with this. You know, I don't think this is what I was thinking at the time. I don't think this is a justified jailing. This shouldn't have been done. You know, he may have his bad points, but he deserved a fair trial. Not one of them. Not the BBC, not ITV, not Sky, not Piers Morgan, none of them. And they still are not. They're all calling him a right-wing fascist, a thug, working class thug. That's what snobs and classists they really are. They still call him a working class thug, even when the highest judge in the land said he's innocent. He should have been arrested if there was suspicion, and he should have been bailed. And then he probably would have served a community service order if he was deemed to be guilty. And he wasn't, basically, because the charge sheet that Tommy Robinson read, I'd already read before that video. I'd already read it. It was on the BBC website. All the names, all the ages, all the charges. Even mentioned the age of the girls, how the youngest was 11. Even had the areas where the guys lived. It was all in the public domain. So despite what you, Piers Morgan, and you other guys, and you, the Sky News Wallies, who are all on 180 grand a year, even you CPS guys who are on 250 grand a year, you know, like the Farage on 240 grand a year, just for being an MEP. I mean, Nigel Farage has got close to 2 million since in the 2 years since the Brexit referendum. £2 million, max bit of tax. He'll have properties all over the place. So do you really expect him to show any empathy for a guy working in Luton that made his money on the building? Eh? made his money putting in window frames and building breeze block walls and running sunbed shops. Do you really think Nigel Farage and the rest of these bloody university trained, bloody indoctrinated fools are going to say a good word about Tommy Robinson? Eh? Well, as a matter of fact, I will, because I've always thought he told the truth. Even like 8-9 years ago when I was having YouTube channels closed down. Likewise with Paul Golding, he was doing it about 10 years ago. 10 years ago when he was, after he left the BNP, he was trying to tell people about these rape gangs, and every one of them is being persecuted. I mean, Jayda Fransen, for daring to call 4 dirty muzz rapists a bar steward, is still being persecuted, but these 4 dirty rapists are already in jail for gang raping a 16-year-old virgin girl every way. Imagine how damaged she probably is. That's enough of my rant anyway. But, you know, all you guys that have been to university, I don't give a shit if you drive a bloody Rolls Royce or a Bentley or how many properties you own. You're all ignoramus fuckheads, as far as I'm concerned. You're ignoramus fuckheads, because not one of you is brave enough or has had the gumption to do what my dad did and what I've done and what Tommy Robinson has done, and that's to look into this religion of peace. Yeah, religion of peace that's killed 250 million people and castrated about 15 million black men. Religion of peace. My ass, it's religion of peace. Shove it up your ass, Piers.